Hey, it's Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com. And it's Thursday, it's June 2nd. This will be our chart lesson for today. And this is going to wrap us up for the week. No chart lesson tomorrow. I'm feeling better today. My voice is, I'm not quite back 100%, but I'm not quite sounding like Barry White anymore. So, um, anyway, this is going to be pretty quick today. There was some nice movement today, but there just weren't a lot of good entries, at least not on my chart. One, two, three, four, five, maybe six decent trades, and there's a couple in there that are green that I marked as well. But just not a lot of entries today. Um, it was really more of a sideways kind of day. We really rallied from just after the open to the close. I mean, you can see that's pretty nice trend all the way up. But until we broke above the overnight high, it was really kind of a range day. So um, I would say that the really best part of the trend didn't start till lunchtime here, but from lunchtime on, it was pretty straight up. But this was kind of a weak rally here. It looked more like we were just trying to break this down, possible downtrend, and then I thought we would probably get a retest. But again, there was a gap in there. And so once we started going higher, you had to figure we were at least going to fill that gap. But you notice how after we filled it right in here, that it looked like it was going to sell off, and then it bounced and took off again. So um, just not a lot of good entries, but we'll back out. We'll talk about them, and we'll wrap it up for the week. So um, first trade I saw was right at the 7 o'clock hour. Notice we had this little trend working up, and at that time this was the overnight high and low, so we were just working with inside that. So it looked like it was really, at that point it was really rangy. So but we're working up. We get a break, a new high, and it's a little bit lower than the previous highs. We couldn't quite get back up there. It shoots right through the EMA, and this is what a reversal pattern will look like. You'll hear me talk about this a lot. Notice how it just goes right through the EMA, no real resistance there. Pulls back up and tests it, and gives you a nice bearish bar below the EMA to take on down. And the main reason we're looking for this short is that we've already fulfilled this trend coming up. You see the trend, the break, the new high, and we push through the EMA, we pull back up, and there's a trend line right there, and that's right off that trend line. So this turns out to be a good trade. Um, nice little move down, and then we get a break of this trend line and a second entry short here. The only reason this one is green is the signal bar is very, very neutral. So it's not a great signal bar, but notice the new low. You pull back, you get your first entry short, and then you pull back and get your second entry short. But notice the little corrective trend line. You get the break, move to a new high, and then it turns down. I just would have liked to have seen a better signal bar there. Um, it's not a great signal bar. So maybe yours look better than mine. Would have worked either way, but you got to be careful with a signal bar like that. So, um, and at that point, we're just kind of going sideways. Um, there's another entry right here. This one was really tempting as well. Notice the new low, and you pull back first entry, pull back second entry, and this is a second entry short. It's right at the high of a range, so it's possible you might have got tripped up there. Um, the only thing that you really could say would keep you out is your trend line right here. If you didn't have that drawn on there, you'd miss that. And notice that you get your close outside here, move to a new high, and then it turns down. So that's the only thing that really would have kept you out. There is a little bit of overlap there. There's three bars kind of in a row, and but this is not really a doji. It looks like a doji, but this is really a fairly bullish bar. This is a relatively bearish bar. So generally that would look like a great setup, but that's why I always encourage you to draw those short-term trend lines because they'll save you in situations like that. So um, otherwise, you probably had a loser there. So, but this was your short. This was your failed break out of the top of the range, and there's a second entry right there. Um, But again, it's not a very good signal bar, and by the time you get in, you're almost back to the lows, and you don't know that it's going to drop through like that. So that's the only decent short I see at that point. And once it started going lower, of course, you're looking for, here was your first move down, and so you'd look for a measured move, and you can see we came real close within a tick or so there. So it would have given you a nice target, and then we bounced. Notice that we're moving up. There's a shorter term trend line here, which is this one. Usually I'll make those a little lighter just to kind of distinguish them, but you can see it. We get a break, a move to a new high, and then we just kind of start going sideways. And this one was tempting because there's a second entry short here and it basically fails, but because we're going sideways and the trend had been down, I would kind of sit tight. But then we get the double test. Notice that you got that low and then you double test it and you get a nice little reversal bar. So I like that one to the long side. And then of course once we start going higher, there's really, you might even measure there. I would start with this one and see where your measure moving. That puts you up into this level right here. So that could have kept you in that trade. And any entry here, you would have had runners that survived, and that would have kept you in that trade to at least up here. And that's where it touches the upper side again as well. So that would have been probably a smart place to exit. We actually pushed a little bit higher than that, but look how far, look how long it took before we broke higher. Then it was only temporarily again. So, but anyway, this was a nice entry. And then we start going sideways again. But notice here, if this would have been a little better signal bar, I wouldn't have minded entering here. I really could almost make that one green. The only reason I really don't like that one is that's the first close outside this, what looks like a two-tier downward channel. And so it's a little risky going long when we're probably expecting a possible retest to the lows. But there's also another thing. There was a news item this morning at 9 o'clock, and you didn't want to get caught, or actually it was at 10 o'clock, I think it was. I think it was crude oil, if I remember right. And lately that's affected the market some. Even though it wasn't big, it was enough to push this thing higher right here. And so that happened real quickly, and it was a news item, so you may not want to take that one. But quickly it pulls back and it does the reset, which is what almost always happens with news items. It quickly takes it back and the market kind of resets, and notice you got a nice little reversal bar, and it bounces again off the EMA. So I like going long there, looking for it to at least retest that high. And this, you could also look at this like a breakout pullback, but we tested that area right across there multiple times, and it held every time. So you're probably going to go higher. And then you're working down, you get a break, a move to a new low, and at this point, this was looking like the trend line up through here. And so that looked like a really good trade. It got just enough to really get a scalp, and then it turns down. But really all they did was trap everybody out and give you a chance to get long again. This is not a great signal bar. I wouldn't use this one for a long. But this one starts at the same location. What I'd do is wait for it to break higher and then try to get back in where you would have entered one tick above this one. And if you could, that's an okay trade. But that would have been a hard one to get in, to be honest. I don't know if you got, you may have a little different look if you had a little better signal bar there than me. Generally, you'll see the same setups on every chart, but sometimes those signal bars or the bars will be slightly different, and so depending on how your chart looked. So, but this, and you could also treat this like, well, it is because this is the double top. You get to pull back first entry, pull back second entry. So that's second entry long too. So that's another reason I like that one. And at the time, it looked like it was probably the first break of the channel here going up, And so you're looking for a new high as well, and that's another reason I like entering it. It's tempting to enter here, but right into all that resistance, I wouldn't risk it. And you see, you probably would have gotten trapped. There's enough to get out there by one tick, it looks like, but notice the little gap where it gapped across, so you may not have been able to get in that one anyway. Um, and then it turns out to be a little failed break higher, but because this is an uptrend and we've only got one leg up to a new high after it looked like a possible break, I just don't think you want to be taking any shorts yet. And then notice you got this one coming down, you get a break, move to a new low, and just so happens it's a measured move from this first one. And so if you're paying attention, you realize, hey, this is probably a two-tiered channel, and so this is a midline right here and not a trend line. It's not a perfect signal bar, but it's still bullish. We closed within a couple of ticks of the top, and you got a lot of stem here. So I like risking that one if you're paying attention and you know what's going on. It is a little bit high risk, so that's green. And it turns out to be a really good trade. What it is, they trapped a lot of shorts here, and they fooled a lot of people, and everybody thought we were probably going lower from that point. And you see what happened. It takes off, and you know they probably trapped people by the way that's working. That's why it's always important to draw these short-term trend lines and wait on that break in new low. And then again, you got one coming down, you get a little close outside a new low, and it reverses. And this is almost kind of a repeat pattern, a little bit smaller. But again, it's not a very good signal bar. So I made that one green again. And again, it was a nice move up. And of course, at this point, once we start up again, measure your first leg. And you can see that we basically had a perfect measured move before it corrected a little bit. So that got us into the 2 o'clock hour. So yeah, there just wasn't a whole lot of entries today. Even though we're working up here, there's a lot of we're just kind of jumping up a little bit, and we're going sideways more than we're really going up. We go sideways, then we get a jump up. We go sideways, we get a jump up. We go sideways. And until right here is when the real rally started. People realize at this point, hey, we're rallying. This is a rally. And it really takes off. But there's just no good entries. So, we have days like that. Not much you can do about it. But again, you only need 2 or 3 of these each day. So if you're just patient and you wait on the best ones, you still make some good money. So, but it was a quiet day and just not a lot of great entries. And so not much else to talk about. I'm not going to beat around the bush today. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this week up. And we'll be back again Monday. And I hope you had a good trading week. Hope you have a great weekend. And I'll see you on Monday. This is Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com. And we'll see you next time.